Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for, well, a stream I didn't really expect to be making in this fashion. Now, one could say it was always written in the stars we were going to lose this. Brighton had won a game since Potter left. We had lost the game since Potter joined. Now we play against Potter's ex in Brighton. I feel like we all had a little bit of a fear in us that we were going to lose. But 4-1. 4-1. Like, I know two of them were own goals and it's a bit unlucky and everything, and I just tweeted this as well. As much as we were bad, it wasn't 4-1 kind of bad. There was a little bit of getting unlucky in there as well, but, at least the same amount of luck we had, that we needed to win against Villa, to not lose against Brentford. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, these injuries, they always catch us out at some point. Like, whether it was last season or any previous season where we had serious injuries. For a couple of weeks, we often somehow still managed to go through and somehow managed to, fill in the missing pieces. But the longer it goes on, the longer these filling in pieces need to then play, and we need to make new things. Like Loftus-Cheek was playing right back in the back four in the second half. The more these things have to happen because of injuries, the more difficult it's going to get. And I mean, I will get to VJ and Pice in a second. But for me, the biggest concern to me actually is how many times recently Potter's got the initial game plan wrong. Like, it happens every now and again. That happens to every manager, no matter who you are. But this is a bit much now. Like, against Brighton, it was against Villa, it was a real stinker from the get-go. Against Brentford, you could argue, it was kind of a real stinker from the get-go. Against Man United, it was so much of a stinker we made a tactical sub after 36 minutes. And then again today, now we only changed in the second half, but we changed the system and it got better. Now, did it get amazing? Absolutely not, but it got better. And that is a problem. Now, do I think Potter will stop making those mistakes eventually? Sure. But it's still a serious fucking issue that they're happening this often. Like, we haven't won a league game in 3 games, man. Oh my God, 4-1. 3-0 down after God knows how long it was in the second half. In the first half, sorry. But yeah, when it was 2-0, we all kind of knew it was dead. Yeah, all of us as fans, so maybe there's always a glimpse of hope, like when Kai made that 3-1 so early in the second half. But then we got nowhere near really scoring another goal for the rest of the second half, if we're being totally honest. So, yeah, wasn't good. Pice, I'll start with you. Where do you want to start? Because I don't even know why I want to start with this one. Because, I mean, it's just one problem after the other. Thiago Silva has found his new West Brom. Because what the fuck was he doing in the first half? Even on that fourth goal, what is he doing? Like, has he found his new West Brom? It looked like it for sure. The game plan of Potter, like the two wing backs thing, Kukurea at centre back, played this for the 5th time now. For the 4th time, it was awful. So I don't even know where to start. Pice, where do you want to start?
Pretty much what you just said, bro. I was tweeting literally similar. Villa, we got lucky. Brentford peppered us. Yeah, I don't know. This is why I wasn't so excited yesterday, and everyone keeps saying, "Oh, we were unbeaten." But I don't. If you look at the context of the unbeaten run, I don't think it was like that great, to be quite honest with you. And I guess this game was coming. I just didn't expect it to be 4-1. I knew a loss was going to come at some point, but for me, what I'm most worried about is our upcoming fixtures now. We've got Arsenal, we've got Newcastle, and then we play City in the Carabao Cup. We've got tough fixtures, and one could argue Chelsea probably play a bit better against the good sides, but this is not the running where we are in the league table where we want to be right now. You want a nice, easy 3 fixtures to get the momentum back. This is possibly the worst fixture list I've seen for the current situation we're in. Spurs 2-0 down against Bournemouth. They came back and won, which means we're 5 points behind Spurs. We are 3 points behind Newcastle. Yeah, but we don't know when that's going to come. So, by then we could even be even more points behind, or we might be closer. So, but yeah, the table's not looking good for us. We're down to 6th if United win tomorrow. Hopefully, let's hope West Ham can get a draw there or something. But yeah, we've put ourselves in a bad position, and I don't really know, to be honest. I'm not that angry. I'm just baffled because I guess the thing I'm most angry about is how naive he was to do the same system again and expect the same results. Like, it's just naivety. Like, I don't understand. 3 number 8s and 2 wing backs. It's incredibly attacking. and we just got absolutely done on every single transition. There was so much space. It was an absolute horror show, especially down the sides. Yeah, it worked against Salzburg, great, but Salzburg, Brighton are a very, very good team. We know this. We know we haven't won, but we know they've got good players. On any given day, they can beat a team. They scored 3 goals at Anfield recently, Like, this is not a team we want to be experimenting and just fucking around with. Like, that's why I said to you yesterday, I want him just to work on, like, 1 or 2 things, a set system or something, just so the players can get used to it, because he's chopping and changing too much.
To be fair, from the last game.
We did, but it's like,
work.
what have we against Wolves? We did something different against Brentford. What did we play against Brentford? Like, I know it's been back 3 a lot, but it's been a lot of chopping and changing. United, we moved early into a 4. Like, I don't know. It's just a bit all over the place, man. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know. Obviously, our goals came from, their goals, 2 own goals by us, but I just think, like, how much more did they want it to us? Like, don't prepare the team and let them go out like that. Make sure we're on the fucking ball, not them. You know what I mean? That's the most thing I'm frustrated about, not the result. I'm most frustrated about, like, our game plan and intent from the get and from the off. And again, I have to say, it's not all on the manager. Some of these players, I tweeted out, they might actually be uncoachable. Like, I'm not even joking. Mason Mount has a literal simple pass to Havertz, plays it out for a fucking goal kick. Sterling, right? When he had Pulisic, I think it was, free as a bird on the right-hand side, loses the ball, they went up the other end and scored. There was other chances. Havertz missed the one on late on, which he's going to get away with because he scored a header. There was just so many times. Sterling, again, I can remember 3 or 4 times where he just dribbled into nowhere. And I actually thought we actually looked all right going forward, but we just didn't make anything of it. I think we played okay, to be quite honest with you. Like, I was quite hooked to the stream, even though we was losing, which is surprising for me. So, yeah, again, Gallagher and Pulisic, that one in was it the first half or the second half? That one right in front of goal. That's twice he's done that now. Who was the other one against? It might have even been Crystal Palace, where he hit the keeper from the same position. Pulisic misses a fucking open net. Like, it's not all on the manager, but it is at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a balance. Everything was just shit today, and I don't know where we go from here, because, as I said, the fixture list is absolutely horrid.
Yeah, I agree with most of the things you said there, mate. If I'm honest, like, the one thing I'm not 100% sure about is whether what happened today was necessarily a system issue. Now, I know I said a few minutes ago myself that he got the game plan wrong, but I think yes, obviously in the end that did harm us, because, you just look at the third goal, Pulisic is nowhere to be seen trying to track back. I mean, Sterling never tracked back, full stop. At least, that's why Pulisic looked bad, because at least he tried. If that same thing, that's why people were saying Pulisic more on defensively on Twitter, at least I thought, because Sterling was just so far never defending that no one even noticed that he should have been there. Do you know what I mean? But obviously that third goal, Pulisic nowhere to be seen, and then Chalobah can't push out and cover the guy behind him. In the end, he pokes it in for into his own goal. But the start was just like, we couldn't handle that press to start with, right? We absolutely couldn't handle it. I mean, Thiago Silva gives it straight to them, has to do an absolute wonder goal line clearance, then has another goal line clearance a minute later, and then gives again screwed over by the pressing, couldn't pass it past the press, and we concede. It's 1-0. Only a few minutes in. Only another few minutes later, it's a corner, and it kind of just hits Ruben on the thigh, and I'm like, well, if you don't go for it, Dunk is right behind him, so it's a goal anyway. But at the same time, I'm like, look at the ball and don't let it hit you on the thigh. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and then obviously he hits it exactly against the underside of the bar, and it goes in. He could have hit the bar and gone out or gone over. Like, it's unlucky. But we couldn't handle their press. And what I find the most frustrating thing, and I'll go to BJ with this now, like, getting the game plan wrong against the team you don't know so well, and getting the game plan wrong against teams while you don't know your own team as well, and also while you have a lot of crucial injuries. Maybe I can understand that a bit more. But against Brighton, and Pice touched on it to some extent, even if it wasn't the identical system as it was against Salzburg, because we had 2 6s today, not just one. But it was still 2 wingers at wing-back, right? So in the end, we actually did the same attacking thing with 2 wingers at wing-back, but less cohesiveness in midfield, I guess. Even though it's 2 6s, so more defensive ones, the 2 ahead of him in Mount and Gallagher were further ahead than the 2 8s were against Salzburg. So arguably we had less in midfield, if that makes sense. So And that against a team who play wing backs every game, meaning, like Pi said, the reason we did this system against Salzburg was because they play narrow and we want to exploit the spaces in the wide areas against them. But Brighton don't play narrow. So why did we do that? Especially, why did we do it on both sides? Like, if you go Sterling or Pulisic on one side and then Aspie or Chilwell on the other, maybe that's okay. But to do it on both sides, when you just explained to us 3 days ago why you did it was to exploit wide areas, and Brighton don't usually leave wide areas to be exploited, I don't understand. Like, and then we changed to a 4-3-3 in the second half, and we play better, but then we get a goal, and then it just didn't even look like we tried to score anymore. I'm baffled by so many things here. BJ, first of all, thank you for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. I will get to your super chats in a few minutes. Don't worry about it. I will get there. But what are your thoughts, man? Like, 4-1, wasn't as bad as the 4-1. Is it, like, does the scoreline make it look a little bit worse than it actually was? But where do you see the main problems? Like, is it getting the game plan wrong? Is it just players not in form? Or is it purely, even if it's a little bit of an excuse, just injuries? Because, I mean, the same thing happened last year. When we didn't have Reece James, we were screwed, essentially. And now we don't have Reece James, we're kind of screwed.
Impact of relying on just one space for creativity, be it from Chilwell and Reece James. The wing-back has been historically creating for Chelsea the last 3 seasons. If one of them is absent, then we see the impact of that in the game. But I'd like to start off by saying, hats off to Brighton for taking a win. Obviously, their first win against Chelsea in their Premier League history. Roberto, of course, coincidentally, that is his first win as well. And what a way to get his first win for a club, which is also a historic win for Brighton. So hats off to Roberto and Brighton for getting the win. One more thing that Roberto mentioned before this particular game was that he said he wasn't worried that Graham Potter knew the players in Brighton, of course, and he also mentioned football is not a science, and he proved that on the pitch today. Football is not a science, and it's more of the players performing on the pitch, and that's the way that they played today. I know most of the points that you guys have touched upon are very valid, and I have the same questions too. Probably down the stream, we'll be talking about them as well. But a certain ridiculous decision from Graham Potter, it doesn't work the same way as that of what it works in the Champions League. There is a difference between how you play a Champions League game and a Premier League game. When you play 2 wing backs in a Premier League game, with both of them being strikers or being wingers, traditional wingers, you see the kind of space that the players get behind them, and these guys, when they don't track back, and you see the impact of that as well. And that's exactly what we saw today. Like Sterling, you could see Cucurella being the only person on that left flank, and Raheem Sterling was very high up the pitch and he was not tracking back, which means it gave a lot of time for sometimes it was Trossard who was able to exploit that space, and we could see in the second half as well. I think it was just a second, I forgot the player's name. Was it
Colombian or whatever he is?
No, the white hair,
or whatever it was.
Yeah, Enciso, yeah. So he was able to exploit that space as well. He was, providing a huge trouble for our wing backs. This is because you got your tactics wrong. Simple. Maybe this is the first time. So in the list of, this is his 10th game and he's losing this game. So fine. But if you look at the Premier League record, like how you said, we've not been winning either in the last 2 games. So 3rd game on the trot that we are not winning. So it's a bit concerning. We could end up in the 6th spot if Man U wins tomorrow. And if you look at the table, we are not that far from Liverpool either. If Liverpool managed to win their next game, they'll be just 2 points short of Chelsea. And with the way Chelsea is right now going and the fixtures that we have now, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool overtake us by the World Cup. I don't want that to happen, but it realistically is a possibility. And it's not that the other teams are very far away as well. You've got Fulham and Brighton just around the corner in the points table, and it's a bit worrying sign as well. And One thing that I'd also like to say before before you guys talk about the tactics in detail is that I feel even today people are going to be slandering Jorginho in Twitter spaces. I've seen people already slandering Jorginho when he's not even played, right? But if Jorginho was there on the pitch, would I have seen this sort of a goal difference? Probably not, because he's good at dictating that defense. But would we have come back from what we lost, like let's say 3-0, and then you put in Jorginho? Would we have even got that one goal? Probably debatable, question mark, because we know what we get with Jorginho. And you could see the communication gap between Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic as well today. Thiago Silva, bit unrealistic in the mistakes that he made. That was the first mistake that led to a goal, but even before that, he kind of made another mistake, and then a goal line clearance from himself that kind of saved his ass at the point in time. But not a great start for Thiago Silva as well today. But it's just one game, and he probably is definitely going to bounce back, so I'm not really worried about him. But yeah, other people, Ruben Loftus-Cheek scoring an own goal, Trevoh Chalobah another own goal, both of that you could probably argue deflections, not in the right position, and probably bad luck. But still, I would expect Ruben Loftus-Cheek at least to have done a better job, because there was no Brighton player putting any pressure on him to do what he did for the second goal. Anyways, we lose.
Lewis Dunk was behind him, so he had to get something on it. But like I said earlier, he needs to just position himself better so he doesn't need to do what he did. Because you could see the ball flying in, just be in the right position, man. Obviously, he probably expected a flick on at the near post, which is why he was caught in no man's land. But you need to be prepared for where the ball could end up if it doesn't take a deflection or if it doesn't get a flick on, because you can't react to the flick on anyway because it's too close. So you need to at least be prepared for if there's no flick on. No, that's my
True. Yeah, that's how you prepare anyways, right? You need to know, you cannot obviously, like how you mentioned, you cannot obviously prepare for a deflection, but you can prepare for where the ball is going to land. And, if it was pure and if it is just landing in the spot without any deflection, I'd expect you to defend it. And when there is no man actually pressing you or pushing you with their hands, then I'd expect you to be, even more decisive in your clearance. And that's what was missing there from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. But either way, I don't want to be too critical on that, because it's just quick, very quick in the moment. And, he was not able to react to it. Anyways, it's 4-1. The scoreline doesn't really reflect the performance in the hindsight, but yeah, bad performance from Chelsea, nevertheless.
Well, there you go. Pice just put in a private chat here. Potter says the team was too open and that's his responsibility. Told the players who made mistakes to analyze them. Kepa has a problem with his foot. So if anyone somehow missed it, Kepa was subbed off at halftime. It was already kind of in the process of him coming off at halftime. Then he stayed on. Apparently, according to what some journalists that were at the game said on Twitter, there was a bit of confusion. Is he coming off? Is he not? It almost felt like it seemed like, what, are we having another League Cup final all over again? But I mean, I understand that obviously Mendy probably used halftime to warm up. What I didn't really understand is if Kepa clearly had to come off, why did we have to wait until halftime? Not that it affected the result, but still, I didn't really get it. But yeah, that's why Mendy came on. It wasn't for performances. But Pice, let me take it back to you. I'm still struggling with where I want to start it with, because let's do the team. Right? I mean, you said before the game, as much as you didn't say it as directly, you kind of clearly hinted at it. I'm not sure if you said it on Twitter. You weren't happy with the team. Now, to me, today was this rather than a three-man midfield, very clearly to me. I know they didn't show it like that in the beginning of the game, but Kovacic was not ahead of Ruben all the time. Only with the ball he moved ahead of him, but he sat next to Ruben very consistently, in my opinion. So it was more of a this, and you remember, Pies, we were talking yesterday how, explaining the 4-1, the 3-3-3-1. And you know how I was talking about when the wingers were high, these two centre mids pushed here to fill in the wing-back gaps. But because we had a 2 today and not a 3, we couldn't do that. And then Sterling obviously never tracks back. Pulisic, didn't track back enough. When he did, it wasn't particularly great. But so that makes me could understand it even less, because what we spoke about yesterday in this 3-3-3-1, you had some sort of plan for when your wing backs are too high and therefore can't help out as actual wing backs. You have the 2 centre mids that can drift wide and fill those spaces to avoid getting overrun in the wide areas. And then today, against the team that, again, I touched on this earlier, plays with way more width than RB Salzburg do, we don't have this defense mechanism in the team, or at least we didn't use it. And I just don't get that. Like, I really don't understand. Obviously, we'll have the Potter rating at the very, very end. But still, I touched on it earlier. Is that, I mean, what's the biggest concern for you at the moment, Pice? Because for me, it's genuinely this getting game plans wrong situation. Again, I understand that some of that is forced upon by having to try different things with having so many crucial injuries as it is. Crucial injuries mean certain other players are overplayed, blah, blah, blah. But it's still a concern. Like, we can't every game go into the game and think, okay, half an hour in, we're going to have to change the system anyway because it's not going to work. Like, that can't happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just on that sort of system and injuries things, he said, and he's finding it hard to find ways to set up with the injuries, apparently. I mean, great. You're a manager. Deal with it, like, Jesus. But,
well, not his squad. That's Tuchel's fault for having Aspie, but,
well, Aspie would have been better than playing fucking Pulisic there today.
Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, would we have then been sat here saying, Aspie at wing-back's too shit, doesn't do anything offensively? Not that Pulisic did with missing his big chance, but Pulisic, like, going forward was okay. Certainly miles better than Sterling was, but it's just... Sorry, you were trying to speak. My bad. Go on.
I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. I don't know. Just speechless. The team, again, I know he scored, but just a massive gripe with getting Broja signing a 6-year contract and then basically having him as third choice striker now. I mean, what was the point in that? Who else played that I think of? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I had a dodgy feeling about this game from the off. Thought mainly the wingers at wing back and stuff. Just didn't think it was going to work. Could tell that from 5-10 minutes in, to be honest with you. And I was like, oh yeah, great. This is not going to be a good day, but it's what it is. Got to move on, I guess.
Got to move on, I guess. Yeah, there you go. I mean, the whole Broja thing is a weird one because Havertz was probably the only positive we saw on the day. And was he absolutely amazing? No. But was he better than pretty much everyone else on the pitch? Definitely. But it's still, when I see a game like this where it seems like we lack a little bit of fight and aggression and anger and energy, I'm like, who do you want on the pitch if not Broja for that? Like, have we not seen the guy play? Like, if you need someone with aggression and energy. Now, I know Broja would have been a striker and that wouldn't have solved those problems in midfield, and in the wide areas. But still, I just feel like we need to chop and change it so much. And then, we take leaders out, like obviously in no Aspie, no Jorginho. Obviously, Thiago Silva at the back, sure. And then you leave Jorginho out. Jorginho is left out. Kovacic is the guy that's playing with injury, where I'm like, why is Kovacic playing all the time? But you're saying you need to manage minutes. But why are Kovacic's minutes the only ones that are not getting managed? I mean, Kovacic was one of the better players today, even though he wasn't amazing. But still, it's like, nah, man, honestly. I mean, okay, if you don't want to get into more detail about getting the pre-plan or the pre-match plan working, fair dues. Like I say, to me, it's an issue. Like, I understand what he's saying in terms of the injuries are part of the reason why we're struggling to set up. Okay.
I think, again, I think Jorginho not starting today is another big one for me. Like, the game was like a game of fucking ping pong. Like, who's the one player that calms us down in possession? Jorginho doesn't start him. Like, why?
Like,
I know he's played a lot, but what? Kovacic just played a lot.
Thiago Silva mistaken his own goal line clearance, his second goal line clearance, and the first goal. All three of those situations don't happen if Jorginho plays, in my opinion. Just because then there's someone that understands passing options required, and then Silva doesn't make the mistakes that he made. In my opinion, at least. I could be wrong, of course. It's always easy to sit here now if Jorginho didn't play. Oh, it wouldn't have happened if he played. Maybe it would have done. But I don't think it would have. And yeah, it's very strange. But what I was trying to say is, so he says it's a problem, the injuries are a problem in terms of how to set up the team. Okay. But why do you still, in every game, he still found a solution in game though? Like against Villa, when Koulibaly came on, we were much better. against Brentford. Once, I can't remember the exact change we made in that game, but once we made that change, it got better. Against United, once we took Correa off, brought Kovacic on and switched to a midfield, well, to a more crowded midfield, a kind of a diamond midfield and a back four, it got better. Also today, when we switched to it, obviously today is a bit different because it's Brighton. They're 3-0 up. So how hard are they really going to try still? They're probably going to be more focused on making sure that they don't bottle it. So that obviously makes keeping control and conceding less chance in the second half a bit easier anyway. But still, you then change it and it worked better again. So I'm like, if you say you can't, like you're struggling with the game plan from the get-go, why do you manage to find a game plan in-game? That's the part that confuses me. Now, before we get into the super chats, not the super chats, into the individual player ratings, let's do the super chats just quickly. One by Cedric at the very beginning. Embarrassing, out of our depth today. Quite frankly, and in particular, out of squad depth today. That's what it felt like, honestly. And then we have another super chat by Lurifix. Appreciate it very much. The players we have can't execute Potter's type of football. We don't press good at all. I can't see him get the players we have pressing like Brighton. I think we can. I don't think that's necessarily the issue, but I mean, someone said it in the chat a few minutes ago. The only positive from today is that Potter built this Brighton team. So, I guess that gives you hope that we could be better someday. But, it's going to be, first of all, we are not Brighton. We don't have and don't want and don't accept taking this long to be any good. But it's also the same problems exist. Now, I'm not going to do this and drag this into like, why was Tuchel sacked conversation? Because we all know Tuchel wasn't sacked for the results and for how the team played anyway. Now, he might have played a small part in it, but definitely wasn't the main reason. But fact of the matter is, no matter who the manager is, no matter who the players are even, because this has been happening for so many years that it's been multiple sets of players. The lack of consistency is a real fucking issue, man. And I don't have a solution for it. Seemingly none of the managers have solutions for it, whether it's Potter, whether it's Tuchel, whether it's Lampard, whether it's Sarri, whether it's Conte. None of these managers, and the large majority of these managers are absolutely elite managers, haven't found a way to deal with the lack of consistency. So, at that point, you're like, well, what the flip? Do you know what I mean? But hey, let's start with the goalkeeper. Let's start with Kepa, and I guess we'll do Mendy in one go as well, because obviously they both played a half each. Vijay, I'll start with you. Kepa, do you think he can do anything about the 3 goals that we conceded in the first half?
Debatable, but I think he was also positionally wrong for these goals. Was indecisive in if he had to go in for the tackle or if he had to stay back a couple of times. But yeah, cannot falter him too much. It was just unlucky for him today. Also to pick up an injury.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I think he could have maybe done a bit better for the Trossard goal just because he went down so early. At the same time, I totally understand why he did, because you would expect the striker to just take a shot in this situation. But Trossard, fair play to him, has so much composure to see Kepa going down and take around him and then just put it in. That's very good. So Kepa could do a little bit better, but at the same time, if he stays on his feet, it might also go in and we're sat here, why did he stay on his feet? You know what I mean? So it's one of those where I'm like, I don't think he's to blame for any of those goals, really, even if I think he could do a bit better for the Trossard one, absolutely. But I mean, the mistake that led to it was most certainly Thiago Silva's, not Kepa's, that caused the goal. So because he conceded 3 goals, I don't know. Like 3, yeah? Did I say anything else?
No, I was saying like 3 goals, he gets a 3.
3? Oh, no, that's too harsh. At least in my opinion, I always try to, because like, I don't know, when I don't blame a striker for not scoring if the cross is bad, right? If the cross is nowhere near him, you can't blame the striker for not scoring it. Same as like if the goalkeeper can't be expected to save the goal, I'm not going to blame the goalkeeper for it. But I don't know, 5, like was he even below average in the grand scheme of things? Maybe not even, but he still conceded 3 goals. So I'm going to say 5, but obviously if you guys want to go lower, that's totally fair. Vijay, you're going to stick with that 3?
I'll stick with the 3 because partially I'd also expect the goalkeeper to organize the defense better, because he's been historically doing that. Let's not forget, today he's got that wrong. But
did he get it wrong, or did we have no defense to organize because we didn't have any wing backs and therefore we were caught out? And also, like, half of the goals happened from build up, lose the ball. There's no organization to be done there, right?
See, one was a set piece goal, of course, the own goal. So you could argue, maybe you should have organized it better. But Would you put that more on Ruben Loftus-Cheek than Kepa? Probably on RLC, right? And on the Chalobah goal as well, just very unlucky to for Chalobah to get elect to it. But then his positioning for that goal as well is a bit of a question mark there. So I just go for a 3. I cannot give more than 3 for a goalkeeper who's lost 3 goals in one half. That's the reason primarily.
Fair dues. Price. Sorry. VJ went 3. I said 5. We sit on a 4 at the moment. What are you going to go for?
Well, based on the ratings logic we use, I'll probably use 6, to be honest, just because it's the average rating. I don't think he was at fault for any of the goals, to be quite fair, so I'd probably go 6.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of me as well. At the same time, I was like, do I really want to give him a 6? So I just took 1 off anyway.
Well, none of the others are probably getting 6. So if someone didn't, so I'm just trying to think, what did he do wrong? I think, Trossard for me was, I don't know, it's just a great goal. Dribbled it round him. Did the right thing, to be fair, I think, by going down. But yeah, what are the other 2 own goals? Like, what can he do?
No, absolutely. I'm not really sure whether we're now more at a 4.5 or a 5, probably somewhere in between. I'm going to put 5 on screen now, but hey, here we are. Pice, I'll stick with you. Mendy then in the second half, obviously only conceded 1. Now that, especially the first save, bro, why is that parrying halfway across the 16-yard box? I know Thiago Silva should have cleared it, that rebound from the Mendy save, but you saved the long shot from 25 yards or 20 yards straight back into the middle. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And he's passing that first pass he tried. I'm like, if anyone wondered why Kepa is getting picked over Mendy, just watch that pass. That was his strong foot. My guy couldn't pass the ball for 20 yards. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. But then at the same time, as much as I do criticize him for parrying the ball straight ahead, the second save is decent. And then the rebound of that is unlucky. I'm not going to blame him.
I didn't even think this. I didn't even think the second save was decent, to be fair. He parried it right to him.
Yeah, it's true, but that was from closer distance. So I'm like, that's why, because it's from closer distance, all he does is getting his arm to the ball rather than having time to really purposely push it in any direction. You're just trying to save it, right? When it's from such close distance. That's my logic, but I do understand where you're coming from as well. I mean, what rate would you give him? You gave Kepa a 6. Are you going to give similar to Mendy? Are you going to give him lower? What do you think?
I'd probably go for a 5 just because I think I don't know, his passing was a bit shit, and obviously the goal was really messy. Again, Silva missed the ball, but I think he could have done a bit better at least. I'm giving him below average.
Okay, fair dues. VJ, on your end then, only 1 goal conceded, but arguably more mistakes made. So what will you give Mendy?
Yeah, 6.6 feet. That's Mendy's height, right? And when such a tall goalkeeper plays, with the ball on his feet, right? You immediately know. The Brighton players even knew that when the ball goes to Mendy, it's time for us to press high because he's going to lose the ball somehow, right? And we've got a chance here, and that's bad for any goalkeeper, at this position, this level, because when the opposition knows once the ball goes to Mendy's feet, we're going to attack immediately. That says a lot about, the ability for you to pass the ball around. And I think it's not the first time Mendy has done this. He's taken a break. I would have expected him to work on it. I haven't seen any improvement on that. And apart from that, the saves again, like how you touched upon, try and hold the ball. Always don't try and push the ball, or just, I saw a couple of times he just did this one, like, how you catch a throw ball or a volleyball. He tried to do that, and it didn't really work. And, the triple stop, obviously the third one was not a stop and it was into a goal. So the 2 shots that he saved, I think one of it at least he could have caught, right? And the actions that happened after that might not even happen.
If not catch it, parry it up in the air and then catch it yourself, as they often do when there's a lot of power on a long shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he just parried it straight back to the edge of the 16-yard box. So I'm like, sorry, 18-yard box. Sorry. What? Like, that's not okay. Like, you can't just parry a long shot straight back into the middle. Like, that's not okay, man. But go on.
my score, since I gave Kepa just 3, I'm not obviously going to give Mendy any better than that. So I'll stick with the 3 or maybe, 3 probably.
Fair dues. It's
And
a
my
tough
rating
one.
today,
Right.
sorry to cut you off there, but my rating today for everyone, it's going to be very low. I was extremely pissed off on the match today. So in case if anyone is wondering on the chat,
Yeah, there you go. No
the
worries, bro,
average,
no worries.
my average is going to be very low than what Pies and Laurenz is going to score today.
I mean, we'll
I
see.
don't think so, bro. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm not really sure. I mean, you said 3, Pi said 5. I don't really know, because on the one hand, I do feel a bit harsh giving Mendy less than a 5. Because I think, while he wasn't great, was it less than a 5? Maybe not. But then maybe I shouldn't give. Maybe I'll just raise my Kepa rating to a 6, which leaves us at an overall 5 anyway, and give Mendy a 5 as well. Which should then put us at a 4.5, because VJ went for a 3 for both of them. I guess that makes sense. Now, this was the lineup in the first half. We will shift it around to explain the second half as well, when we obviously shifted to a 4-3-3. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we have nearly 300 people watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Cheer me up a little bit today, because it's a rough one. And smash the like button as well. These likes help us spread these streams and videos out to more people. So just one click of a button that doesn't go through any money or really any time. So it really helps me out. I appreciate it if you could do that. Now, we have 2 other super chats that I want to get to quickly before we get into more player ratings. No one says Tuchel got 10 points in 6 games. League winner with beard, Graham Potter, got 11 points in 6 games, and it will become 11 points in 8 games as Arsenal and Newcastle are coming. Where is the new manager bounce? Now, I wouldn't be so sure that we get 0 points out of Arsenal and Newcastle, but and we were also thinking we will get at some point. We were like all terrified of AC Milan, and look how that went. Do you know what I mean? Of course, Arsenal and potentially Newcastle, both better than AC Milan, especially with AC Milan with the injuries they had at the time of us playing them. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people in the chat. Probably on Twitter as well. There's a lot of Potter going on at the moment, which I find quite amusing, because I'm like, I understand it wasn't great today, but I'm like, that was like, obviously Tuchel had the background of winning the Champions League, but we were shit for a year essentially. And that was less hate than there is now after 6 games. Well, 10 games, but I find that a bit strange. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's like, at some point I become critical of a manager when mistakes start to repeat themselves. That's why I'm critical today of this whole game plan from the beginning, where I'm like, that can't happen. Like, once or twice, I let you off. But 3-4 times, we're getting to too much. In 10 games as well, that's ridiculous. So we need to stop that one. But yeah, I mean, the new manager bounce would be nice. And we would have had one had we not, since Potter joined us, had Koulibaly injured, Fofana injured, and Reece James injured, plus an injury setback on N'Golo Kante. Without those things, we're probably in a very different position. But hey, it is what it is. And then Indefinite adds to it. Appreciate your donation as well, bro. Saying Potter getting owned will cause doubt in our squad. And that one, I think, is while I don't necessarily fully agree, I think it's still enough of a point to make to ask you boys about what you think about that. Kepa, what the fuck? Pies. Do you agree with this comment?
Well, I don't know, because the players are the ones on the pitch, aren't they? I'd probably only say, like, maybe the substitutes would think, oh, fucking hell, what's going on here? Like, the players on the pitch need to take some responsibility as well. Like I said, there was moments where we could have got back in the game quite quickly, in my opinion, and we didn't. So,
if we take one of that double chance and it's back to 2-1, that's a good chance we at least get points from this game. But yeah, like you touched on it, we ruined it. Sorry, do you want to add anything?
No, I don't have anything else to say. No.
There you go, VJ. Your thoughts on this one? Potter getting owned, causing doubt in the squad. Do you see that as a possibility?
I mean, not right now, but there's a potential that this could happen if there is losses like this on huge goal difference, of course, right? Because Tuchel had something that he's proved to the world, Champions League, which kind of had a stature for him in the dressing room. Has Potter had the same trophies cabinet? No, of course. So the players to turn on him, when in comparison to that of Tuchel or any other manager, would be much more quicker in terms of turnaround time. And that's what I'm a bit worried. But not today. But the potential of that happening is not he'll probably not get the same time as that of Tuchel.
Well, free from the squad, it's an interesting one. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's difficult because on from an outside perspective, absolutely yes. On the other hand, if he then treats the players better and differently in other things rather than just what happens on the pitch, that could help him keep them on board longer. But I do agree, it is certainly a possibility, but I don't think it's an issue today. I don't think it's an issue before the World Cup. I don't think it's an issue this year. But eventually, could become a problem. Now, Pies, I'll start back with you. Cucurella. I saw a lot of people be super critical of him today. While he was clearly not very good, I don't fully agree with how harsh a lot of people were on him because, I mean, Sterling, see, the thing I'm not sure about is whether Sterling was supposed to help him out or not. That's the problem. Well, I'm like, was Sterling supposed to help him out? And should I go in on Sterling for not doing that? Or should I go in on Potter for basically allowing Sterling not to help the left side? And that's what then exploited and exposed Cucurella. Because I don't think as an individual, I'm like, well, yeah, he got beaten on a couple of too many occasions, but I'm like, he's a one-on-one, 1v2 in every single occasion. How is that ever going to work, no matter who you are? I mean, he's not Thiago Silva. But was it good? Was it, have we seen that benefit really of having this more technical player at centre-back rather than a real centre-back? Obviously, at the moment, it's a bit different anyway, because we don't have any other centre-backs flipping available. Because, I mean, Fofana's injured, Koulibaly's injured. Now, Koulibaly should hopefully be back very, very soon now. But still, we don't really have any other options other than, of course, playing a back four. But what did you make of Cucurella? Did you agree with a lot of people online on Twitter that he was really, really bad? Or is it a case of, well, he was left alone every single time, so what do you expect?
Yeah, I didn't see what those people were saying, to be honest with you. Don't think he was that bad. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's a weird one because I've said before, like, when people say he's really bad, I think he's played okay. I don't really get it. Apart from obviously the Aston Villa game where he was just generally shocking, but no, I don't know. I thought he was okay. I mean, to be honest with you, like, my main attention was on the forward line today, which is why I was so angry. So maybe my ratings for the defense won't be the greatest, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys say because I don't really know like how much I want to blame certain people. Like, because for example, Chalobah scored an own goal, but and he got skinned. I think one other time, where they had a counter attack, and who's that guy who came on in Cecil or something? Yeah. He had a shot or messed up the pass.
What are you talking about, Chalobah now or Cucurella? Sorry,
Chalobah. So I was just saying, I don't really know for the defense all round. Cucurella. Yeah, I'd let you guys choose a rating because I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, because if I'm honest, I'm not 100% sure as well. Like now, Musa says Cucu got skinned as well. He absolutely did, but he had no help. Now, did Chalobah always have help? No, that's why I will use similar thing for Chalobah. Although Pulisic most certainly at least tried to help Chalobah way more than Sterling tried to help Cucurella. That's for sure. I'm gonna, just because of how the whole game happened and everything that happened, even though I don't think he was individually really, really bad, I'm gonna say 4.5 myself. I'm kind of like between a 4 and a 5. Like, it was bad, but I don't think it was as bad as some people are making it out as an individual, because him looking so bad happened because of other people, not just him. That's how I'm going to explain it. But VJ, what about your end? I said 4.5. Post is kind of unsure. We'll see whether our explanations and stuff will help him. But what would you go for?
So first thing that when I talk about Cucurella today is that he was booed every single time when he got the ball on his feet, because of the departure and then him coming to Chelsea. Of course, it was not the best venue for him to appear after his departure from Brighton. So he was obviously under a bit of pressure. The fans made sure of that, Brighton fans, but that's not excuse for the way that he played today. And it's not just him. I think the defense today was a bit unorganized, and when Thiago Silva makes mistakes, I think it kind of impacts everyone on that defensive front, and that's probably what we saw today. When your wing backs, like how Pius as well mentioned, Sterling was not anyway supporting, and if that doesn't happen, then one more thing, I think it was Solly March who was on his side. Every single time when there was high balls thrown at him, he was not able to reach it. Probably because of the difference in height, he was not able to, win headers over Solly March. Of course, this is not expected out of Cucurella because he is not physically tall enough to go for that. But that kind of had an impact in Brighton retaining ball possessions when there was a long ball. They were able to easily control the ball and move it around.
And that's what made it so easy for them as well. They
challenging.
punted a long ball. We didn't win that long ball immediately, and then they just pressed
Right.
us. And that's even if we won the ball, they still pressed us and forced us to stay deep then and pass around the back with the goalie, with the centre backs. And then we had to do this whole drastic build up again, and their press just stopped us. So I don't disagree. But what rating would you go for Cucurella?
I'd go for a 4.
Okay, fair dues. Pies, have our explanations helped you a little bit, or are you gonna sit this one out?
To be honest, bro, like I love commenting on this player rating streams, but I don't want to waffle. Like, I had more thoughts on like Silva and Chalobah, to be honest. But mainly Silva because I think he was the one who made the mistakes. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Fair dues.
Trust you guys. I don't know.
You've got to help us decide between a 4 and a 4.5 now because we had 2 different ratings. So you've got to just pick one of the 2 now. I'm gonna have to force you into that.
Even 4 because we conceded 4 goals. There you go. 4 because we conceded 4.
Fair dues. Fair dues. All right, let's get to Thiago Silva then. Now, for me, he gets the 3 because he obviously had the goal line clearances, which to some extent, yeah, I want to big him up for. Now, the first one he caused himself, so that, cancels itself out. I don't remember how he got to his second goal line clearance, how that happened. Can't remember, if I'm honest. But, yeah, the 4th goal should do better. The 3rd goal loses the ball. The first goal, but the 3rd big chance that they had very early on, it's just not good enough. Like I said, I hope it's just a new West Brom for him. Maybe next time we play Brighton, don't start Thiago Silva. If we have the defenders available, then to just not play him. Because we thought it was just a one-off against West Brom, but then he did the same thing again in the reverse leg. So, in the reverse fixture, sorry. So, maybe let's not play him against Brighton anymore this season. But yeah, one of very, very few, very, very bad games from Thiago Silva, but that was really bad. Especially with how the game is. We all know when there's no Jorginho ahead of him, Thiago Silva has more responsibilities in terms of build-up. And you can't exactly say our build-up was any good today. So, arguably, even more impotence on just him being really poor. Pice, would you agree on the 3? Do you think I'm being too harsh then, or would you make a fan? What would you go for?
Yeah, probably around the 3 or 4, but I think, too many mistakes today. Incredible to clear those 2 off the line, by the way. But, I mean, the second one he didn't cause, but the first one he did. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of in the similar sequence. So, I mean, yeah, just a bit disappointed with, especially the last goal. But again, I mean, we were so, the game was so dead by then anyway. Someone could have just... Mendy could have slipped over and kicked it into his own net, and I probably wouldn't have given a shit, to be honest. So, yeah, it doesn't excuse the mistake, but yeah, it just is what it is at that point of the game, isn't it? But yeah, I think a 3 is about right. Rare off game for him.
Yeah, unfortunately it happens, but obviously not exactly good to see. VJ, what about you? Do you think we're being nice with the 3s? You said earlier, we should expect you to go very low in the rating. So are you going to go even lower than 3, or are you going to be on board?
I would. I mean, I wanted to go for a 2.5.
Oh, well, somehow his device got disconnected. I maybe had a power cut or something. It felt like that because otherwise, how does this happen like this? Or his internet turned off. But hey, he was going to say 2.5. Leaves us at a 3. Oh, he's back. Not a power cut then.
I don't know. Maybe the stream did not like me giving a 2.5 for Thiago Silva.
I thought you had a power cut and all sorts, but no. Go on.
But yeah, I'd probably go for a 2.5. I just want to make sure that I communicate this very appropriately. This particular number 2.5 is for his rating on today's performance alone. He was the reason for lunging into the tackle for the 3rd goal and first goal as well. Before that, also a mistake, and then he kind of corrected it with a goal line clearance. So I'm going to say a 2.5.
Yes, it's a good point because on the first goal as well, not only does he lose the ball, it's also in that situation where Chalobah is actually trying to somehow deal with and mark that. I forget his name, but is he Japanese? The attacker? Is he from Japan?
Mitoma.
There you go, Mitoma.
Mitoma, yeah.
Chalobah was kind of on him, and then out of nowhere, Silva pushes there as well, leaving Trossard completely unmarked, and somehow Mitoma finds the pass through, I think, Chalobah's legs or between Chalobah and Silva, and and Trossard was just completely unmarked. If Thiago Silva just stayed there, maybe he just easily, comfortably blocks anything Trossard tries to do. So it was really not it. So maybe your 2.5 isn't too far off either, but hey, we'll leave it at the 3. Trevoh Chalobah, one of the guys that, took part in on goal central today. Unlucky, that one, unlucky. I mean, especially when we later on in the game at 3-1 had a cutback and then it got deflected by a Brighton player, but hit Sanchez straight in the face instead of going in. I'm like, that just showed the game today. Our own goals, they one bounces in from the bottom side of the bar, and the other one, the Chalobah tries to block the cross and it puts it into his own goal. And then the similar situation happens for them, and it blocks it at the keeper. So, I mean, it was just not our day, and then obviously made worse by individuals having a really just a bad performance. But about Chalobah himself, defensively, I thought he was the best of the three by distance, if I'm honest. But obviously, he scored an own goal, was still overall poor. Because of the own goal, I'm going to give him a 4 as well, but I do think it was better than the other 2. Now, you know what? I gave Cucurella initial. Yeah, I reversed my Cucurella rating to a 4 anyway. Now to think about it, but I will give Chalobah 4.5. Could maybe even do 5. I think him individually wasn't that bad. But Vijay, what do you think about Chalobah? Do you agree with my assessment there, or do you disagree?
Yeah, I think it's a fair score, 4.5, because one particular problem that I have with Chalobah, otherwise I'm good. When the ball doesn't reach towards the end of the goal, try not to always use your body. You'll have to clear the ball. He tried doing that a couple of times when the ball actually literally stopped and he was trying to use his body to fend off the player. Those are things that he obviously learn as things pass by, because but anyways, to keep it in terms of the score, it's just 4.5 for me. Chalobah was better of the back 4 anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Supreme there in the chat mentioned the mistake that Chalobah made in the second half, when obviously then Thiago Silva basically had to defend the counter-attack on his own, which he did really well. Also because the Brighton player, again, I forget his name, the Colombian, I think is, or South American anyway. I remember that from the commentator. Yeah, screw that one up. And yeah, that tackle challenge, whatever that was supposed to be for Chalobah, that wasn't good, but outside of that, I thought it was okay. BJ, sorry. What rating did you give him?
I said a 4.5.
There you go. Sorry, my bad. Pice, what about you? 2 4.5s so far. What would you give him?
Yeah, probably around that. I mean, when you go like 3.5, 4.5, I almost just want to go like a 4 or a 3, just because I think
you can do it if you want to.
Yeah, I'll probably go a 4. I don't know. Like, it's the first time I thought some of the defending was okay. There was a couple of times where he marshaled it out of play and he looked quite dominant, like he did the few games before. But that one where he got skinned was really, really bad for the counter attack, and obviously the own goal is not good. So yeah, other than that, didn't really notice too many errors. I think his passing was okay. He looked like he wanted to get the team back in the game and stuff. So I didn't mind his attitude or anything, but
no.
Yeah, I mean, I did feel bad for him, because when he scored that own goal, man, you should have, at least on my stream, went straight to his face. It was just, he looked so upset and sad, and just, yeah, it was not good. But
because they all knew that the 3 killed it. I mean, with our current form and stuff, even the 2 or our current form, just the situation we're in, missing the players that we're missing, blah blah blah. Even 2, that was basically done. But we touched it, and we'll get to those situations again when we get to those forwards. But we had a big chance to make it 2-1. And if it's 2-1, half an hour in, everything's to play for. You could even still win that at that point. But unfortunately, we missed that chance, and not long after go 3-0 down. 3-0, you're done. And at the very best of times, you're going to get a draw, and the win's most certainly done. So, and yeah, it's also, as Jack says in the chat, it's also the first ever loss we've had when Trevoh Chalobah started a game for Chelsea Club. So unfortunately, that run of his has come to an end. But we move on. I guess we have to cover the midfielders first before we cover the wing backs, because they most certainly didn't play as defenders today. So I guess we'll do Kovacic first, because in the second half he played as the deepest 6, even though Ruben played as the right back, so it doesn't really matter who comes first. Kovacic, tough one, man. Has a few very good dribbles. Had one pass to Aubameyang, which I thought was good, and then Aubameyang just has the same first touch as Romelu Lukaku does, a complete waste of space and time. But Kovacic was okay. Could he have done more in controlling and dictating? I think sometimes because Kovacic is so good at other things, right? At dribbling, at keeping the ball, at using his body as well. He's not the biggest guy in terms of height and stuff, but he's somewhat stocky. Like he's got a decent build to him. I think sometimes he gets off a little bit too easily for when team has no control, and people don't even consider that Kovacic should be is part of who should help us have more control. I think sometimes he gets off a little bit too easily for that, because I think when he had the ball, didn't really do much wrong. But in terms of his reading of the game, intercepting of passes, there was just barely any of it, if any, right? So that's why it's difficult. And the same goes for Ruben. I mean, Ruben obviously wasn't anywhere near as good on the ball as Kovacic was, although Ruben was better in the second half at right back, certainly, than he was in midfield, which is weird because my guy Ruben, how many more positions do you want to play? And then you always happen to be better in all these off positions sometimes than you are in your more natural positions. And then everyone's a bit confused by you. But yeah, Kovacic, I don't know. I'm again somewhere between a 4 and a 5, somewhere in that realm. Pice, do you have more of an opinion on this one where you'd go with that? Maybe this time I need to help.
Yeah, I'd probably go like a 5.5 to be fair. I'd say that just because I think he got
5.5, you said?
Yeah, just because I think what leads him below average, I think, is because he got that yellow card so early.
Which wasn't a yellow card, by the way. It's a ridiculous decision from the ref, in my opinion.
See, I thought that, and then I can kind of see why he gave it, because he did go in quite high with his foot. But yeah, I mean,
did you see the guy that stepped on Kova's ankle? Ref didn't even give free kick. No, he gave a free kick.
Oh yeah,
but
that's just
that's closer to a red card than Kova's was to a yellow card, man.
Yeah, no, I think he played okay. Not great, but he was definitely responsible for getting us the ball forward. Every time the goalie had the ball, Kovacic was always deep and trying to pick the ball up. Did loads of runs forward, so many runs. I just kind of feel a bit sorry for him at the moment, to be fair, because I don't know when he's going to get. I mean, obviously he ain't going to play against Thingy on Wednesday or whatever, but still,
it's probably the one team he wants to play against, because obviously that's where he came from.
Yeah, exactly. So
youth career not started, but his professional career started anyway. Yeah, I feel you absolutely. Yeah. We touched on it earlier. Why did Kovacic start today and not Ruben? And not Jorginho, especially if we played this formation anyway. I don't understand at all. Now, maybe for the energy that Brighton had, sure, but you can't exactly say it worked. So fair enough. You went 5.5. I couldn't really decide between a 4 and a 5, I guess, which leads me to a 4.5, but I might still change that. So VJ, a 5.5 and somewhere between a 4 and a 5 for my end. What would you give Mateo Kovacic today, bro?
Partially for what Kova did today, I think Potter was also responsible when you got Sterling and Pulisic on the wing back anyways higher up the pitch. I'd expect Jorginho to be on the midfield to support the defense, which was not the case. Kovacic getting the high boot way early, yellow card was a bit of concern, but he did have amazing dribbles though. I'd go for a 5. Yeah, I'd go for for me, he was easily the best midfielder on the pitch, so 5.5.
Okay. Wait, so 5 or 5.5?
5.5.
5.5. Okay. I'm going to go quite low for all of these, so I'm going to stick to a 4.5 that I had initially, which leaves us at a 5 overall. Getting to Ruben. Obviously, after that, we'll shift it to where he was at right back. I thought at right back he actually did okay. Didn't get done too hard defensively, but again, was because Brighton were obviously in the lead and didn't try so hard attacking-wise anymore. That one left foot shot was okay, but in the first half, it really wasn't it. Like VJ, I think, mentioned it earlier, the communication between Kova and him was just poor. And that's why I'm surprised you both went, to me, still quite high for Kova, because I'm like, we had no control. I know he did some nice dribbles, but That's not the be-all and end-all of being a midfielder. You need to do more than just dribble. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you put Hazard in midfield, he wouldn't be a good midfielder. He would just be a good dribbler. Do you know what I mean? And I don't need Kovacic to be a good dribbler. I need him to be a good midfielder. And yeah. But yeah, Ruben wasn't it. Obviously, the own goal, we touched on it already. He should position his body better. As much as it's unlucky after that, because it hits his thigh, the other side of the bar, yeah, it's unlucky. But to me, I'll give him the same 3 as I gave Thiago Silva. It just really wasn't very good. VJ, what about you?
I'll go for a 3 as well. He again used his body really well. I mean, in the recent times, he's starting to do that very well. Brighton's midfield and forwards are a bit physical. I think he dealt with that properly, but then his positioning for the goal kind of put him below. And of course, the poor communication in the midfield. This is something that he's again lacking. 3 for him.
Okay. I'm surprised. I thought I was going to be the one that would, be nice. Well, I guess someone said 1. Someone said 3.5, 3.5, 3, 4. All right, not too far off, I suppose. All right, so far then, 2 3s, Pice. What would you give Ruben?
I mean, it's very low. I know he wasn't great, but I guess
maybe it is a bit
5.5.
too low now that I've thought about it a bit longer. But go on.
Yeah, no, I'd probably give him below average, but I'd give him like, I don't know, maybe like a 5 as well. Because for me, that it was more like, coming on to the players now. The midfield structure was obviously very bad, but I don't think these two in particular helped. Jorginho really should have played, man. Really, really should have played.
Which is weird, right? Like, then Jorginho doesn't play a game. It goes like this. Everyone's like, oh, we missed Jorginho. Had Jorginho played today? And maybe it still goes the same. Now, we've had bad games with a lot of goals conceded with Jorginho. And then everyone will be saying to Jorginho is shit. He needs to be getting gone. And this is what I always try to tell people. When they, on a really bad performance, they then go in on individual players.
You need balance, man, in that midfield. There was no balance. Like, some of you just need to use their brain sometimes.
Wait, not just in midfield. There was no balance in the whole team today.
I know, but midfield is, for me, is the most important area of the pitch. You can't be... Like, Kovacic can play deeper, yeah, but you can't not expect him to just rule out his dribbles in his game or rule out going forward. Like, it's like...
And the fact that
telling
came on was even more baffling.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't play at all today. It was kind of strange, to be quite honest with you. Because if Kovacic can play, then Jorginho can play. Jorginho doesn't need more rest than Kovacic.
Watch him start against fucking Zagreb then. Do you know what I mean? Just a waste of just minutes.
Fuck that game. Unless Hutchinson's played, I don't know. Yeah, that game's pointless, man.
Yeah, honestly. No, it honestly is. I mean, obviously we love it to be pointless because it gives us a little bit of a chance to rest someone. But Potter actually needs to rest them, not play Jorginho and Kovacic and stuff like that. But hey, here we are. Ruben in the end ends on a 4. Fair enough. All right. Let's get to Raheem Sterling, man. Honestly, I tweeted at some point in the second half, every single second more that Raheem Sterling remains on the pitch should be 10k out of the way to spare Potter. Now, it took Potter a good few minutes after that point to sub him off, but at least he subbed him off eventually. But now he would have had the assist for Gallagher's, because when Gallagher had the 1v1 with the keeper, that would have been an assist for Sterling. That was a good pass. But that was literally the one and only good moment Raheem Sterling had in the entire game that he was on the pitch for. Like, he was literally shit at everything else. Like, there was a few occasions when on the right side, you saw Pulisic at least running back, trying to get back. And then the camera switched, and you see Sterling still stood in the opposition's half, right next to Kai Havertz. I'm like, I know you don't like being left wing back, but you've played for Pep Guardiola. You know that when the manager gives you instructions, you better fucking listen. And now Potter was bad today, and a lot of people are ridiculing Potter, blah, blah, blah. But I cannot and will not accept that Graham Potter just says to someone like Sterling, yeah, no, you don't have to defend. Because he played wingers at wing back all the time with Brighton. They still fucking defended. And Pulisic still tried to fucking defend. So I'd see no way in the world where Sterling was just allowed to not defend. And he just doesn't fucking do it. I'm like, okay, so you're shit at doing anything. You can't pass, you can't dribble, you can't shoot, because he does none of those things. And you're not bothered. Like, does he get any worse than this? Sometimes you have players, they don't look bothered, but like Aziz, at least he has a pass in him, do you know what I mean? But when you're shit and you're not bothered, what is the use of you? Like, someone messaged me on Twitter to mention it on the stream, to ask people, who's worse, Timo Werner or Raheem Sterling? And at this point, man, I cannot remember Timo Werner having this many useless games in a row. No, that's a lie. But we're nearing the similar, territory. And this is ridiculous. My God. Like, and then obviously everyone was like, yeah, but he's playing out of position. I'm like, okay, so why was Salzburg, which was also this position, his best game in ages? Compared to also games where he played in more suited positions. So why is the out of position explanation today? Right, see, there you go, mother. I'm giving Raheem Sterling a big old 0. Now, could I get the poo emoji out? Yes, but that almost lets him off from getting a 0. I want him to very much know that he's getting a 0 because that is diabolical. And frankly, at this point now, I mean, I've been screaming this for a month, but the guy shouldn't be anywhere near a starting 11. I don't care what system problems you have, because obviously we don't have any other wingers. That's why these guys are playing now. But it's shocking. It's honestly shocking. I mean, I think, was it TalkSport? Someone said, with the way Sterling's going, if I'm Southgate, I don't even take him to the World Cup. Honestly. Like, I know for England, he usually does better, and at the Euros, he was literally carried the whole team, especially through the group stages. But my God, are you in awful form? That is shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, Pice, you know that I've been very harsh on Sterling for a little while. You've been less harsh on him. Are you harsh on him today as well? Or do you, again, think I saw it a bit more extreme than you did?
No, it was dog shit. Like, let's not try and lie. I won't do that. He was dog shit. Gonna give him a 1 or like a 0.5 for the pass he made.
Okay.
I can't remember the player now, but that was literally the only thing I can give him a rating for. As I
The
said,
pass to Gallagher, surely, right?
it might have been. Yeah, he was coming off the left and he played a pass into midfield and we had a chance for it. I can't quite remember who the player was, but it was a good pass. It led to a chance. So that's the only thing I can give him a rating for. Other than that, he was terrible. I do slightly disagree with you, though, in terms of last game. I didn't think he was very effective. I don't like the position he's playing in. But
I agree. He was very effective, but he was still miles better. At least better than he was in the rest of the last month, I thought. Because
I just think
one other game where he was good in the last month other than Salzburg. And he was good in that either, just less bad.
I just think, like, this kind of position is... It may even just be like the formation. Like, it's just pointless, to be honest with him. Like, he needs to be much closer to goal, where the balls are coming into the box and he can attack them and just stay around the box. He's nowhere near the box. He's in the he's on the touchline. And I know he's quick, but, when's the last time he took a player on? I don't know. So stop playing him on the wing.
They ran into the player every time.
Exactly. So stop playing him on the wing then, where players have to take people on.
Just don't play him full stop, because when he tries to shoot, it doesn't happen either, does it? Like, if we're honest.
Exactly. So that's why, although I hate this position, it's like if you played him up top or something today, or played him, I don't know, where Gallagher was getting in those positions, like, does he score that chance Gallagher missed? I don't think so in current form. No, you know what I mean?
No.
It's just, I don't know. 0.5.
If anything, I think Sterling wouldn't even be in that position because he wouldn't be bothered to run there.
That's what I mean, though. With him, you've got to just put him in a default position where he's going to be there. Like, tell him just to, you know what I mean? He's a fucking grown man. Tell him instructions. Like, it's just ridiculous. I don't think we're using him right, but at the same time, he has been shit. So, especially this game, he's got to do more. He's got to do more.
Trossard can make the position work, but Raheem Sterling can't. What does that tell us about Raheem Sterling?
But I don't think, again though, it might come with time, but I don't think this is a position where we want Sterling to start playing regularly. I don't think it's going to get the best out of him. We're not going to get the goals from him we want. So I don't see the point in doing it personally. But it's both. It's a mixture of both. He's been crap as well. But I need to find this clip back where he ran into someone, right, and they scored from the I think it was their third goal, one of the own goals. I'm sure it was Pulisic.
That was a good transition moment. I don't remember who won the ball. It was a good moment, and he just runs into the man.
I literally fell on my iPad. Like, if he literally just looked up, it was a free pass. I'm sure it was Pulisic. One-on-one with a goalie. Miles of space. Easy pass. Fucking ran into the defender. What do? Go up the other end and score. Like, that just summed today up for me. I was like, yeah, fuck off. And I just stopped watching it. So I just didn't, I was out the zone by that point. Hence why my ratings are a bit sort of skewed with today. But yeah, I definitely watched him, that's for sure. Fuck no, he was shit.
Yeah. He really was. He really was. Okay, you went like 0.5, didn't you? So VJ, we've had a 0 and a 0.5. What are you going to give Raheem Sterling? And what did you make of, I guess, also what we said, but most importantly, just what you saw?
I mean, when Pius starts off the rating with dog shit for Raheem Sterling, you know how his performance was. Sterling, a definite 0 for me with the way that I've been giving ratings as well today. I'm definitely going for a 0. I just want one person to get 0 for this 4-1 loss. I'm not saying he's entirely responsible, but partially he is definitely responsible for the way that he's played, not contributing to the defensive side of the pitch when you're expected to do that in that position. And after, apart from all this, he's on 325K a week, 27-year-old, not that old either. Played
wanted
in
to come here and be
3
the
big
main man.
games.
Whenever we need a main man, my guy's nowhere to be seen.
Exactly. And has experience. You cannot say like the other players, this is the first team he's playing, this is the first big team that he's playing. No, he's played for Liverpool, he's played for Man City. Teams don't get bigger than that. So I would expect you to soak in the pressure. And for someone who scored a hat-trick in the previous outing at MX Stadium with Man City, I'd expect him to perform a lot better with this team. So he gets a 0.
Yeah,
he is not coordinated with this squad.
No, he really isn't. I mean, this comment by Texas, maybe we need to sell Sterling to whatever Tuchel coaches. Maybe we need to, because Tuchel might be the only guy that wants that guy anymore at this point. Now, as much as I'm critical, as much as I've been harsh on Sterling, of course, like Pi said, the position doesn't help. But the position doesn't help because as a team we don't, because when we play well enough, like Sterling was in a lot of attacking good positions against Salzburg from this position. It was in these wide areas where he often was at City. He was often in the very wide areas. A little bit further away from goal, but at the end of the day, like once we get on the ball, which is when it matters, once we get into the final third, which is when it matters, he is also in the final third. So then it's at that point, the position is no different to whether it's a 4-3-3 or this. He's in the same position. And then you need to do more. But of course, still, it would suit him better to play slightly different positions. But we all know why this is the case. We're doing this because, number one, because Mount, we rely on Mount heavily in the first place. Gallagher is on somewhat decent form. And we only have these 2 wingers. So you're like, okay, I can't play them properly because I don't have enough wing backs. And I also don't have any fullbacks, or not any proper ones anyway. And then, okay, so if I try to play them there, maybe that works. It worked in the last game, okay, so you do that again. But it's no excuse. Like VJ just touched on very well. He's a guy that played for Man City, for Liverpool, won not the Champions League, but won multiple Premier Leagues, FA Cups, God knows how many League Cups, wanted to leave Man City to be the main man. At that point, when Leandro Trossard manages to make it work, yeah, sure, had a bit longer to get used to it. But Raheem Sterling, I'd expect you to get the gist of something quicker than Leandro Trossard and not be shit all the time, every time. Do you know what I mean? Like, ain't it, bro? Absolutely ain't it. I mean, I was one of those people, I wasn't as convinced when we signed him in the summer, but I didn't want to, I don't know. I always, whenever we sign players, other than, well, with a few exceptions, I always try to be like, okay, yeah, I mean, I try to be positive. Maybe the manager sees something I don't see. Problem is the manager that signed Sterling isn't here anymore. So who knows what that made, impact that on Raheem Sterling. But is he getting any excuses? Absolutely not. Let's get to Christian Pulisic then. VJ. Missed the big chance. Should have certainly done better on the big chance. Unlike Sterling, tried to help defensively, but obviously wasn't particularly good at it, especially on that third goal. Was obviously run by way too easily. Wasn't amazing, but I think was still a lot better than Raheem Sterling. I'd give him... the miss is bad, though. I give him a 3 as well, as I did with Thiago. Because the miss, the defensive mistake, even if maybe we shouldn't expect Pulisic to be that defensively good, do you know what I mean? It's better than Sterling, but still bad. That's what I'd say. Maybe I'm even going too high. A lot of people in the chat saying 2 and 1.5. What would you say, VJ?
I mean, from that particular angle that he got, after Gallagher's shot was being saved, it seemed like it was an open post for him, and he missed that going off target. So, I mean, obviously, when he's playing as a wing back, you're obviously comparing him with another wing back who's played with him, who is, pretty much should be in negatives, but then we ended up giving him a 0. So I'm going to give a 3 as well for Pulisic. I think most of the points that you touched upon pretty much covered what Christian Pulisic was doing on the pitch. At least he tried to contribute defensively, tried help out Chalobah at times. Did not do the best work in terms of tracking back for the third goal as well. But you could really not blame him. The attack was also from his end.
Especially, because you said it there. It happened in the transition where he, like Pies mentioned, he was the guy in free space to try to score. And then we concede from that transition. So the fact that he was anywhere near trying to help defensively is impressive in the first place. When you think
Exactly. So you cannot just blame him for that. But either way, obviously he had the potential to do a lot better. But when the other side is gone for a toss with Sterling, obviously that will have an impact on the right side, which was overloaded this time. Pulisic gets a 3 for me.
Okay. Pies, what about you? A lot of people seem to be, going a bit lower than us in the chat. Would you go for a 3? Would you go lower? Would you go potentially higher? What would you make of it?
Probably like, I don't know, probably like a 2, 3, something like that. Probably something similar to what you guys have done. Don't think he was great at all. It's pretty poor. Some of his runs were okay, but I don't know. I felt like he lost the ball quite a lot compared to the Salzburg game. He obviously missed that chance. Again, though, I don't really know how much to judge him because this position for me is just like I just don't like this from what I saw today. Don't want to see it in the Premier League again, to be honest with you, unless it's like a long time from now. Just not close enough to goal where he can affect games, in my opinion. But even though he did play, he was bad. He was bad. 3 or a 2. I don't know what the difference is with this. And we might as well just give Sterling him a 0 because who was really worse? They're both shit.
Oh, I think Pulisic was a lot better than Sterling personally, but fair. I mean, if you want to go 2, you can go 2, bro. We can give him a 2.5 if you want to.
Yeah.
All right. Let's give him a 2.5 then. There you go. Unfortunate. If any Pulisic fans are now upset, they didn't get a 3 but 2.5, but I'm sure you'll live. Let's do Gallagher then. Shall we shift it around for the second half formation already? Not quite yet. We'll do that before we do the subs. Gallagher obviously had the biggest chance of the game for us outside of Havertz's goal. Now, to me, I'm not really sure which miss I find worse because Pulisic had it more difficult because the ball was in the air. But obviously, Gallagher had a goalkeeper to beat. Pulisic didn't have a goalkeeper to beat anymore. So it's like, that probably as bad as each other for different reasons, if that makes sense. Now, Pulisic fans probably say Gallagher's way worse. And, certain other people will say, oh, no, Pulisic was way worse. In my opinion, they're probably as bad as each other, quite frankly. He absolutely should score it. Now, he had that header not long after that big chance. I think maybe still a 2-0 then at the time, potentially, which was a very good save by Sanchez. And he had the cross to Havertz. Gallagher was one of our better players, for sure, as much as he missed the sitter. But was he great? No. I will give him a 5. Pies, do you think I'm being nice now, or do you think that's about fair? Maybe I would have gone lower than that, but then I remember that he assisted the Havertz goal, so I was like, okay, I have to do that. And that was one hell of a cross.
Yeah, probably around there, to be fair. I think it was a great cross. Worked hard, definitely pressed really well. You're going to get that from him, which is obviously beneficial for my team and something that gets overlooked, I think, sometimes. But again, that chance was massive, man. And after a while, just didn't really affect the game that much, especially in the second half. So, yeah, apart from that assist, he didn't really do too much wrong, but not too much right either. So I guess that is okay. I mean, maybe even an average rating of a 6, to be honest, because I did give Kepa that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but he did still have the miss, though. So that's why I didn't go 6, personally.
True. 5.5 then.
Okay, fast. Vijay, a 5 and a 5.5. What are you going to give Gallagher?
I'll go with a 5 for Gallagher. Amazing cross. I love the cross, actually. Perfect pinpoint accuracy to Kai Havertz, who again hit it to the goalkeeper. Luckily,
I did not know before this season that Gallagher was as good at crossing. I had no idea, and he seems to
he
be
did
really
that
good.
for Crystal Palace last season.
Fair,
I've been
fair.
following Gallagher the last entire season, and he did that a lot for Crystal Palace. He moves around a lot in that. So he kind of plays the same front three that you've mentioned, but then the other way around. Gallagher, the center of the pivot, and then it's two strikers up top. It's either the guy who came from Scotland the previous season, and then Zaha. So it's like 2-1. And that one is Gallagher. So he does that a lot for Crystal Palace, but this is the first time he got enough time on the ball, used it properly. But then you could also argue he should have done a lot better with that shot that he had to just beat the goalkeeper in front of the goal. So bit here and there, but Gallagher gets a 5 for me. Good potential though.
Fair dues. Mason Mount, difficult one. First half. I didn't even really see him. Now I saw him try to get stuck in, but it wasn't really never working. Usually gave away free kicks and stuff like that. He had one shot from distance, which went way wide. Second half, when he played deeper in the midfield three, it was better, definitely better. But it never was any good, really. I'm struggling for this one. I'm thinking I saw a few people in the chat already talking about 1.5s and 2s and stuff like that. 1s. I think that's a bit too far, but I'd be probably one of the guys that I chuck a 3 on. Maybe a 3.5 because I didn't think the second half was that bad, but around the area of a 3. BJ, do you want to help me out? Is around the area of a 3 at least where you'd go, or would you go for something drastically different?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call him the worst player on the pitch because it was all defensive errors today. So I'm not going for that low of a score. So I'll go with the 3, probably a 2.5 or a 3 is what I'll go for Mason Mount. I felt at times he was non-existent in the front 3 as well.
Yeah, there you go.
And his pass, he should have done a lot better in that pass.
Yeah, my God, that pass you tweeted about it as well. I tweeted about it. That is one of the worst important passes you can ever play. Again, don't remember the scoreline when this happened. Was it 3-0? Was it 3-1? Was it 2-0?
It was 3-0. It was 3-0.
Was it before we scored before we got one back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we got one back. Yeah.
Okay, it was still in the first half, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just real bad. What are you doing, man? How can you overhit the 10-yard pass someone? Do you know how people always say, "Oh, Jorginho only passes sideways and they're so easy"? Well, that's where you can see 10-yard passes aren't always that easy. But yeah, fair enough. 2.5, 3. You said, Pice. What about you?
Yeah, around a 3 to be honest. What did I give Pulisic? Did I give Pulisic a 2? Can't remember now. Maybe. All right. Mount's a 2 then as well. I don't think he was any better than Pulisic. More advanced area as well, so even more disappointing. He had a couple of stupid decisions where he took shots as well, where we just needed to keep the ball going. Can understand it, but yeah, choose your brain a little bit. But I don't really know if he has one, to be honest. If that pass was just that, actually, that made me so angry because the fact that my nan could pass that is really, really, embarrassing for him. So yeah, 2 goes to.
Your nan maybe could. Mendy couldn't though. So swings and roundabouts.
I don't think he's starting Mendy.
He's an outfield player.
No, he isn't. But neither is Pice's nan. Well, maybe she is. I don't know. Maybe she's in goal. Who knows? But I thought my nan plays for Milan. But let's go to Kai Havertz then. Got his goal. Now I will be totally honest with you. The cross was amazing by Gallagher. We touched on it. The header wasn't any good. He kind of headed it straight at the goalie, but the goalie didn't expect him to head it straight at the goalie, hence why he kind of had jumped out the way already and then tried to do something about it and couldn't. So I guess on the one hand, it's okay, you headed straight at the keeper and the keeper just jumped out the way. On the other hand, it's I guess it's wrong foot of the keeper because the keeper didn't expect him to go in there, I suppose. I thought now a lot of people were in the chat when I earlier said that Havertz was the only positive, were already losing their shit again. I genuinely thought he was. I'm going to give him a 6. Now, was it I'm going to give him a 6.5, actually.
What about that stinker of a miss at the end, bro? That could have got us back into the game. That's embarrassing.
That is true. Because of that, I will take it back down to 6 again. That's true. Now, It was a bit more difficult than I think it looks because he had to stretch for it. But I tweeted about that one as well, and I was like, well, yeah, probably more difficult than it looks, but we're 3-1 down, man. We just
How does he
needed you
sky
to
it
do
that
something
high?
on
I'm
that.
so confused. How
Sorry?
do you sky it that high from there? I'm always confused when they
I think
happen.
it's just because he had to step out, like step back on it, and then it just hit the top of his foot and then goes up in it. But outside of that, and that's a very still fair to mention that miss could do better. Now, do we then probably lose 3-2 instead of 2-1, 4-1? Better for goal difference, sure, but do we probably still lose? Probably. But hey, who knows? Maybe we get a late equalizer. Could be if he does score that. Because what minute was that? 88, 86, someone around that area, right? That miss?
Yep, and there was
86,
5 or
yeah.
6 minutes at a time as well.
No, exactly. Well, still, I thought in general, so it was okay today. A lot of good touches. You know, we criticised a few of his those long ball touches recently. Today they were spot on every occasion, really. Obviously scored. The movement was good. I thought his pass selection today was really good. Didn't always execute them very well, I will say. Like that, he tried to play in Sterling once. It got just about intercepted, or not fully intercepted, but deflected and therefore taken out of Sterling's stride. So he could have executed a pass better, but at least he saw the pass, and it wasn't a super obvious easy pass, I thought. So there was a good few pieces of things in there, but it also obviously stems from the fact that with how bad the team was, what Havertz did today wasn't anything special, but it was still better than the rest of the team, I thought. Maybe people disagree, that's fair, but hey, got us one goal. Not that it mattered, because whether you lose 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 3-1, does it matter? No. But I guess it's better than nothing, I suppose. And certainly did more than Aubameyang when he came on, so, you know, that's something. But yeah, 6 from my end. Pice, what about you? Did you think, other than that miss, he was, while not amazing, a little bit of a bright spark compared to pretty much everybody else?
To be honest, when he scored, I think it gave him a bit of a bright spark. Other than that, I think there was plenty of times where, again, I think he just looked a bit behind the pace when he received the ball. Yeah, he was okay. I will give him a 6. But I'm still a bit angry that, bro, you didn't start. Or didn't start both of them if you're going to start, because you know
Yeah, just
Havertz
don't start Sterling. We've covered this.
Yeah, you know Havertz is kind of, well, seems to be okay playing off a striker, especially someone that is going to suit this game with the amount of space there was. And yeah, I don't really have much to say, to be honest. 6 seems about right.
Fair dues. I have one question that just popped into my mind, which I want to ask you after. But VJ, first, let's finish off Kai Havertz. 6 for you, fair as well? Would you go lower? What do you think?
Yeah, 6 was spot on, actually. Maybe I'll go for a 5.5 even, but yeah, 6 seems to be a fair score as well. Apart from that miss and another, goal which he apparently struck straight on the goalkeeper, there was also another chance where he squared it off perfectly to Raheem Sterling, who again, cut in and then took a shot, which again did not transpire into anything. But that pass was also a good one from Kai Havertz. I mean, he started to realize, the front three is not always him scoring, and he needs to combine with players. I think if he's not yet realized it, it's high time he does that. But today I saw glimpses of that. He was trying to square it off to another player. So that was a good sign of things to come from Kai Havertz. But then he needs to start linking up better. And the shot that he took was from his stronger foot. So that's something that we have to take into account as well. I'd expect him to better control the ball for taking that shot. If it was on his right, then I understand. But it was from his left foot, and it was just skyrocketed. So, yeah.
Fair dues. Now, quick question, while I shift this around as well on screen. Is it just me? Now, we've learned, Vici apparently knew already last season. I've learned that Gallagher's really good at crossing, and we're currently struggling to save our lives for wing-backs. And we know the guy can run until no end. Should we consider putting Gallagher a wing-back? Not obviously long-term, but as in while we're having positional problems with players in those positions. Because, if the guy can cross and run and has reasonable pace, surely that, at least as a makeshift wing-back, surely that should be quite good, right? Is that just me, Pies? What do you think?
It's just you stop playing 3 at the back is my answer.
Obviously, fair enough, but let's
I'm
assume
getting,
we have
honestly,
to play wing-back.
No, we don't have to. Just play a 4 from now on. I'm actually done with the 3 at the back shit. I've been through it too long.
While I agree with you, 1,000,000%,
So annoying, bro.
as you know, how much I agree with this. I also can already see we'll play a back three in some game and then lose 4-0. Like against Arsenal in the preseason game, we played a back three, a back four, sorry, we're 4-0 down by like half time, and everyone's like, never play back four again. So it will happen in every direction, do you know what I mean? But yeah, go on.
I mean, fuck knows. I'm gonna say probably no. I mean, some of your points are okay, but like, yeah, defensively is he known to be a bit rash. So I'd probably say pick up an early yellow in about 20 minutes, and then we'd have to change him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Although so does Koulibaly, do you know what I mean? So with his loves a good rash yellow. But yeah, obviously this is the system we played in the second half, at least roughly. And then finally, at some point, Raheem Sterling was replaced. Now, who was he replaced by? I need to ask my phone because I can't remember.
Chilwell and Broja came on, didn't they?
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, Chilwell and Broja. So basically, it was Broja on for Sterling, and then Chilwell obviously for Cucurella. Not really sure what the system was. Obviously, Havertz was then wide, but then Aubameyang also came on. And
I think we played two at the front.
Yeah, I probably agree, but Aubameyang was always on the left, so I was a bit confused. But anyway, what was who did the other ones replace? Let me just get it right before I do anything silly.
Gallagher with Sage.
Oh yeah, Gallagher and Pulisic were subbed off. Actually, it was Aubameyang obviously that came on first, not Broja, of course, but still. Ziyech came on for him, and then Aubameyang came on for him. Yeah, no, that can't be. Otherwise, we'd have two flipping Aubameyangs, which obviously isn't the case. Do we want to rate any of these guys, or shall we give them all an NA? BJ, your end, do any of these subs warrant a rating?
I mean, none of them, to be honest, had anything to do in the game. It was done and dusted when they came in. So,
Aubameyang had a shot which was saved.
Yeah, that was a good shot, actually. Good shot.
Ziyech was just
but
shit.
you'd still expect any Prem goalkeeper to save it, though.
Yeah.
I
don't remember anything else from the others. I mean, Ziyech. Why did he come on over Hutchinson, by the way? Like, that's just stupid for me.
Yeah, especially like in a game that was clearly lost anyway. Just bring on the young guy. Like, everyone knows Ziyech wants to leave. Everyone knows we want Ziyech to leave, essentially. Well, at least Potter does, because you're not using him, really. So why not just bring the kid on? At the same time, you know, the kid plays then in a situation where we're 3-1 down. Everyone's a bit lethargic and, you know, not up for it anymore. We concede a late 4-1. You know how fans are. Do you know what I mean? Ziyech gave a brilliant ball to Loftus-Cheek. Did he? It is. Okay. If he did, I can't remember.
But what was his shot from that free kick? Like, why would you directly go for the goal?
He definitely didn't mean to. He just overhits him.
Yeah, I think he didn't mean to, though. But, you know, should have done a better job at finding some players there. He was actually arranging the, you know, area like where the players were consolidated. And then he did that shot. Then it's like, okay.
There you go. Yes, and Havertz missed. In the build-up to the Havertz chance. Okay, fair play. I mean, all right, here we are. If we're not going to give any of these subs any ratings, then I don't have any ratings to give them, really. I wasn't happy with Aubameyang. That's what I can say. The shot was decent, fair, but the amount of bad touches that were in there again, the amount of just lack of strength, lack of pace. I'm like, where's fast Aubameyang gone? When did that leave? Obviously, I didn't watch Arsenal regularly. I didn't watch him at Barcelona regularly. So did he already turn slow there, or is he only slow now? Because when I think about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, my head still goes to fast first and foremost.
It is fast. He's just not rapid anymore. Like there's
fair enough. But when I'm saying fast in my head, I mean rapid. Obviously, he's not as rapid anymore as he used to. Understandable. But he's 33. It's not a 37. Why are you that slow? Like, not that slow, I know. But I was just hoping for a bit more because, I don't know, like the pace was one of the only things where I'm like, okay, at least he's got... You know, when we signed him and I was not particularly convinced. I was like, hey, you know, he has a tendency to miss chances. As you know, remember the Arsenal times? We all laughed at him, like the Olympiacos miss. Or how many Aubameyang misses towards the end of his Arsenal stay, the last year or so, were memed left, right, and centre. How many... Like, the fact that could even happen so many times says enough to me. And then I'm like, okay, at least he's got pace and a relationship with Tuchel. Now Tuchel is gone, and I notice he has no pace. So what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like, just I don't get it. Just play Broja. I don't need Aubameyang. He doesn't add anything that Broja doesn't, in my opinion. But hey, here we are. The last thing we need to cover before we round this one out is a rating for Graham Potter. Now, I touched on it a couple of times. I touched on it at the very beginning. I mentioned it again. It's getting the game plan wrong to start with is becoming a serious issue. Again, Villa, Brentford, United, Brighton. That's 4 of 5 games. In the 4 of the last 5 games, this game plan that we started with was wrong. So much so that the manager had to change it either in the first half or at half time. Like, that is not it, bro. Like, I understand injuries and everything. But again, if you can find the solutions in-game, you can also find them pre-game, right? And there's, against Villa, against Brentford, they're a good team. At home, we all know they're difficult to play against. Man United at the moment on a decent run, blah, blah, blah. All sorts of understandable things. We were playing Brighton today. You were their manager for 3 years. You know how they play. You know their strengths. You know they're good at pressing. You know they're good in transition. You know they're good in the wide areas. Yet everything you did allowed them to exploit wide areas, allowed them to exploit press by not playing Jorginho. And again, you had to change it at half-time. And it was way too late. Against Villa, thankfully, it wasn't too late. Against United, thankfully, it wasn't too late. But against Villa and United, it was only not too late because Kepa pulled off wonder saves. Today, he didn't because he couldn't. And then because the Villa game could have been 4-0 by half-time, if we're honest, right? Like, I'm not sat here in the sense of saying Potter isn't good enough or Potter is shit. I think Potter is suffering from a little bit of pressure at Chelsea at the moment, personally, because he's obviously aware. I don't know if there's experience. The results aren't ideal. The performances aren't ideal. So what I think he did today was like, okay, being a bit more passive against United, even against Brentford, didn't really work. Let's go a bit more front foot. And that backfired so hard because, well, number one, when you don't have Jorginho, as much as he gets transition passed very often, he still intercepts passes and reads his reading of the game allows him to make interceptions that no one else in our team makes. So I'm not even sure if I want to give him anything higher than a 0. The only thing is Sterling was so bad, I feel a bit harsh on Potter giving him the same rating as Sterling. So I'm going to give him a 1 because Sterling deserves to be the only 0. Maybe I'll give him a 1 for, okay, he changed it again and it was a bit better, but it still weren't good enough now, was it? Absolutely not. I'll stick with the 1, but it's a serious fucking problem at the moment. VJ, what about you? I said 1. What are you going to give him and how would you explain
it? It's a bit difficult for me to rate Potter today. He obviously faced his first loss today, but I would have expected Jorginho to start today. I still cannot wrap my mind around why Jorginho did not start the game today, when the Dynamo Zagreb game is something that can be done by anyone. You can just play any youngsters out there in the team, and then still can just drag the game along. A lot of issues with bringing in the same kind of squad that you played against Salzburg, Champions League team. It doesn't work with Premier League when you play wing backs this high and they don't track back. We've seen the same thing happening under Thomas Tuchel as well. What has changed really from Tuchel's system to Potter is a bit us being better on the attacking side of the pitch, which you could also argue after maybe Sterling and Aubameyang came. Even Thomas Tuchel would have done the same thing, right? But it's a hindsight and it's just assumptions. I'm not gonna say that would have happened. But do you really wanted a new coach just to do that and playing in the same 3-4-3 again? Or was Potter brought in just because we had to continue in the 3-4-3 and the best player or the best coach available in the Premier League who could play in the 3-4-3 was Graham Potter? I don't understand the reason for the selection from Todd Boehly, which I'm still wrapping my head around. But if Graham Potter is truly a wonderful coach, I think he'd still he needs to start tweaking things a bit. Maybe adapt to a back 4, bring in his style of play. I'm yet to see what his style of play is very clearly. That's a bit worrying sign for me. So I'm going to go with the 1.
Okay. Pies, what about you?
it's a weird one because in terms of like actual play, like how we were on the ball, I think we created enough situations where we could have scored, which I think that was why I was kind of mad at the players, because I actually think we was okay the way we played.
But we still created less than the opponent, though.
We did, but I think I don't know, like as I said, we was losing 3-1. I was still hooked to the stream quite a bit, like actually watching to see if we'd score, because I think
Especially
we were
when we
quite
initially
positive.
got the 3-1, I had a little bit of hope.
And when we was 2-0 down, I was watching the players' body language and Cucurella and particularly and quite a few other players where you could see the urgency there. So it was like, we hadn't really given up, but it was I still kind of have that thing in the back of my mind where if we go 1-0 down, the game's almost over because I just don't see us coming back. Other times we will, like the Crystal Palace game where Gallagher scored that goal, but it's been a common theme with Chelsea over the last few seasons, actually. We need to get this first goal because then we can control the game and then we kind of dictate it. But we need to start just showing our ability to come back in difficult situations. And, that's why I think these next few fixtures are massive for us, because I think Arsenal and Newcastle, I'm almost certain we're going to go 1-0 down in one of those games, probably Newcastle. Just because of St James's Park and they're actually playing well now. So, yeah, in terms of the lineup and everything else, though, I think he got it completely wrong. Subs again, a bit weird, to be honest. I have to say, Chilwell, I know we didn't give him a rating, but I forgot to mention him. I thought he was absolutely diabolical when he came on. Those crosses were absolutely shit. I don't know why he came on at all. Put someone else there. Anyone but him, please. But yeah, I do understand the politics behind it, because obviously he needs games and all that sort of stuff, and he is actually our left wing back. But whatever. One. Yeah, I'd agree. Go one all round.
Fair dues. I don't have much to add. I agree. I agree. Yeah. I mean, this is the worst thing because, you touched on it earlier. Before this, I was kind of like positively happy about Zagreb being a game that doesn't matter because obviously we can rest some players. Now that we had this game, you don't want to rest. All these players that play today will want to play again Wednesday because they want to almost get this out of their system again and like prove themselves wrong and prove it to themselves and prove it to fans, prove it to people that criticize them. It's not ideal because now we've got Zagreb where hopefully still, regardless of that they want that, we rest every player basically. I would like at least as a sub, but maybe even a star from like someone like Hutchinson. Obviously starts like Korea. I guess Mendy gets another star, but it's just, like we need a fair few, absolutely. It's just not good. And then we've got Arsenal and Newcastle, like Pies touched on, which will be difficult. We will be up for it again. What can we say? Rough day, man. Rough fucking day. It was always a bit written in the stars that we would lose this, but I expected us, if at all, to lose it at late on, like a 2-1 or like a 1-0 or, not get battered. And especially in the first half, we got battered. We got embarrassed. And we got embarrassed by Potter 6. And the fact that, the Brighton fans weird me out, by the way. Like, do you know who you support? You're Brighton fans. Well, why are they giving it a big one like booing Cucurella and, like Potter, what's the score? Even though I rate the banner. I'm like, what is this? Like, you're Brighton. Did you expect them, if Chelsea come calling, to say no? Like, what? Sorry. Like, know who you are. Come on now. But anyways, I think it's about time we round this one out. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. If you're still here, and there's still 170 of you, which I massively appreciate. So please do subscribe. All of you that have not done that yet, please do. Smash the like button. Just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time. So please do that. It helps me spread these videos and streams out to more people, and hit the notification bell button so you hopefully don't miss any, because sometimes the notifications don't work. But, we have to try. So hit the notification bell button. Make sure you select all rather than personalized or none. And then hopefully you should be notified whenever I do or we do go live. That would be phenomenal. Please check out VJ's channel. Again, I'm not sure if he at the moment has a lot of time to upload, but, check it out regardless and watch some old content if he at the moment doesn't have time to provide new one. I'm sure at some point there will be new videos as well. And of course, as always, Pice's website is linked down in the description, chelseafc365.com. Check that out. Check out his Twitter. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. We can only hope and pray, and we'll see you next time.